Yeah, I wake up ready.
That is true, right?
Ready to rock and roll, man. Good to
Welcome,
be on.
welcome, welcome, everybody. Thank you again for joining us to for these how-to sessions. Um, for those who are new, just to put things in perspective, this is an open space where we will exchange questions and answer on all topics across the use of Nowsite. And we can also dive into more marketing general knowledge that we might want answers to. To keep things organized the way it works, you can either raise your hand and I'll bring you forward so you can openly ask your question and everybody can share into the answer and the knowledge gain. Or you can also ask the question in the chat. I have Robert here assisting me with answers as well. I've also put in the chat the links pertaining to where you'll be able to find content related to these exchange, the release since this is being recorded, the video release, and any uh, tutorial information or content that I would have created for these meetings. Good for everybody? Perfect. I do not have any major announcement, so we can start right away with questions. Any questions are good in this space, even how to log into Nowsite, as I said. If we don't have any major questions, I can start going over some marketing principle around building website things that we should keep in mind since uh, if we are engaged in building relationship or navigating conversations with our prospects. At one point, we have to send them links. These links lead them back to our marketing content, and it's good to have an idea of how to structure these assets properly. Okay, go ahead, Lori. We'll start with you.
So my question
Hmm.
is there a way if I'm adding onto my funnel
Okay.
page or anything, a
Okay.
way to track how much of a video they've watched if I'm adding a video in there?
Well, this is technically if you are publishing the video on YouTube or Vimeo, well, every time they watch it, technically you get a report on that. So that's how you track the audience. If is there a way for you to track specifically if somebody has watched that video? Well, the only way would be using the hot link, but that is through direct messaging. Does that answer the question? Perfect.
Yes, it will.
Well,
Thank you.
it does and doesn't kind of because the only
Hmm.
way that you're going to be able to track that is by having your own software that actually tracks the amount of time that they watch. There's not a whole lot of those out there, but it's the same
Okay.
concept to where you would upload that video into whatever that video editor is that tracks the amount of time, and then you would take that code and use, our code source.
So I
But
have one of those. Is
cool.
there a way to integrate those?
Well, as long as you can get the HTML source code from that video, then yes.
Okay. So it's a little bit of an elite conversation. So definitely, if you have embedded tools that you can use to add in specific function, you can. But this is a higher tier of conversation. This is why I didn't go into that one. To keep it simple for everybody here, you are right in a sense that we can track if the hot link means that they clicked on it and watched the video till the end. But again, if you have the hot link, it clicked it, and you are leading to a platform that gives you stats, you can kind of see a little bit the average viewing time, right? But again, these are higher tier of conversation. You have to look at what you are bringing in as a tool. Make sense
Well,
for everybody a little bit? Go ahead.
I will say that I've been using Nowsite for 3 years. I used email,
Hmm.
and the email tells me how many's been opened and how
Hmm.
many people actually did click the link. I
Yes.
was just kind of looking for like something because I have some another tool that I could use, but I want to keep it all in one spot.
Okay. If I may ask, you want to make sure that you understand who specifically is watching that video. What are we looking at? Specific matrix or general information? Because I just want to know why would we spend so much time at that? Well, it depends, right? So what is the value behind first, what are we trying to get as information always? And this is a good exercise for everybody in general. When you're about to add in more tool, add in more layers to your process, first ask yourself, what is the value of the end result that I'm looking versus the time that I need to spend to update and track that? Right? Because if there's no direct value but general information, then use other form of general information for that. If there's a specific need that you're trying to engage by tracking and engaging into that process, then so be it. At that point, we're at the next level of what we have put forward, optimizing, perfecting, giving us more to work with. Make sense for everybody? Perfect. I'm curious as well now. Book a meeting.
Oh, the
We'll definitely
microphone is
take a look at it.
working?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
It's
Yes,
Marty.
it seems to be working.
yes, you are, Marty.
You have a question, Marty? Oh, okay. It was just microphone testing, I
So,
guess.
Lori,
What?
do
Yeah,
you
I'll book a
understand
meeting.
though how to
I'll,
do that? How to
I'll
solve your
book
problem?
I'll book. What I'll do is today I'll try to figure it out between the two of, and then I'll book a meeting, a group meeting, like the other day.
Works for
Well,
me as
it's super
always.
simple though to do. Like I say,
Mhm.
you just need the HTML code and pop it in your website where you want it.
Do you
So, okay.
do you have a demo, for example, that you would want to share with me, and I can include that in the visual process and share it with everybody, Robert?
Well, like as an example, right? I put a screenshot in there to show the stats that you would see if you had that type of software, but I don't want to mention the software itself or the company. That just wouldn't be the right place to do that.
Exactly. Okay. So
If you have that software, as I mentioned, you're not going to be able to do it with YouTube or Vimeo. You'll have to have the specific type of software that tracks
Exactly.
it. You just take
Exactly.
that HTML code, pop it right into your website where you want to, and then you can always go back and look at those stats and see the percentage of how much they watched.
mm, and I'm just going to share what Robert has shared with us so that everybody can get an idea of what we're getting here. So this is basically what you would be seeing as you're mentioning, Robert.
Right, right. It just shows you like how much of a percentage that they actually watch, which is kind of a good thing because if they're sales videos, then you can kind of track that data and see where you're missing people, where they're falling off at or
Mhm.
whatever, and then readjust your video, put it out there for more testing till you've got a really good view rate.
But
So
if
if
I'm
I've
not
got
mistaken, go ahead.
so if I've got one platform that's the software,
Mhm.
and the snippet is embedded in that platform. So I just go back into the sources for that, right? For the
Right.
details on
Mhm.
that and pull that
Yep.
snippet out and then put it into my website. Is that what you're
That's
saying?
it. That's it, Lori. Super simple. As long as you
Perfect.
got the video there, just grab the code, use the code snippet, put that where you want it on your website, and boom. And then now when people go and they watch it, then you'll be able to track that. But you can't do that with YouTube or Vimeo.
They don't offer you these statistics
Not that I'm aware of. Not
because
the,
okay, I'll take a look at that
I could be wrong. I don't know.
because okay, this is where
Vimeo
this
has
is
it.
yeah, this is where again we have to be careful with what we do because um what I'm looking at here, Robert, is pretty general in terms of rating, right? And all the video platform have insights such as these, right? So it's maybe a little tricky to find, but it's definitely there. So again, going through the ropes of integrating things, unless it gives you a lot more insight, meaning that I saw over there 179 people, I can get more in-depth statistic on where these 79 people were, what hour they watch, where in the world. right? These things become interesting, right? If I'm doing that, if that's the platform. But generally speaking, in terms of the statistics, you definitely will get things from the platform itself that you're looking at. Even, for example, just to come back to what Lori mentioned in the email process, what we give you when we're tracking these email statistics here are general information, right? We want to know exactly well, I haven't launched this one there, but we want to know exactly, well, generally, what is the engagement value that this email is producing. Same thing even across the website. Since we're talking numbers, it's a good idea to look at that. On your account, you'll notice that we have analytics. Now, when we're looking at analytics, it's always very general, right? This is tracking information across all your assets, right? And it's something that we want to take a look at in a sense that at the beginning, it might sound like some type of mystical language, but it's not. It's just numbers that you will see have correlation, right? For example, here, we can take a look at what happened across the 7 days, right? So if I, for example, have recently launched a campaign and I'm having people in that campaign go to a specific website and I want to know the engagement or the opening rate, these things will help. Okay. Not much activity on my side here. That's also a bad example. If you come from time to time and you take a look at your account and you see that, well, there hasn't been any activity, it means that you haven't been actively using your CRM tool. I'm going to expand this over 30 days. Usually, when you're doing statistics, if you're looking at what you are doing in numbers, it's only after a certain amount of time that you can get a good sense of what is happening, the larger picture. So it starts with 7 days, 30 days a month, and then 90 days, basically, which is a full quarter, tracking what you have done over a quarter or trimester so that you can get a broad view of what is happening. Here, I'm going to switch to 30 days. Hopefully, I'll get a little bit more data to put this in conversation. So great, I have a little bit more data. So it's we all went through the point at one point of reading charts, even for our own financial information banking. They send us charts. They're not very hard to understand. They're based on the same principle, right? So here, for example, we have the customer platform activity. It lets us know how many websites have been visited or how many times across the platform our asset has been visited, our social media activity when we're producing it from the platform and such, right? So this is information that you want to track, especially if you're doing now social media with the My AI tool, tracking that activity, seeing how it leads back to your links, because the idea is that if I'm posting something and it's getting activity, it's redirecting them to my website, increasing maybe the website activity. Here, for example, this is particularly important for what we're doing in terms of email, understanding what is happening here. So in simple form, you can see email delivered, SMS sent, ad user clicked on it, and this is how we expose our brand through these marketing assets. And then we have the audience engagements, what we're actually talking about since the beginning. So you can see the correlation. If I look at what the activity was on the 15th of January, I sent out emails, 5 were delivered. You will see how many was sent on that date. Actually, it was a trigger effect. The campaign started to roll out, I think, on the 12th, and over the past days, it trickled in. And people basically received it. The highest rate of receipt was on this date of 15. If I'm doing campaigns, for example, and I realize that, well, there's a spike in openings or in delivery on specific dates, then I want to look at that date as being part of my strategy. Simple as that, right? Same thing here. You can see on that date when the email were sent, okay, if I go a little bit over on the 5th or on the 15th, sorry, I can see the 2 emails were open and I have 53 views of the website on that day, 2 mail open. So definitely there was something happening before that triggered these website visits, right? So small things like that can allow you to see, okay, well, overall, this is what is happening. right? Here I can see on that same day on the 15th, there was a contact form, right? So things like that allow you to trace a little bit your activity across the platform. It's still general information, but this is what statistics are meant to give you. Based on the general number of interaction that I generate, this is the success rate that I'm doing. This is how strong this approach is or how weak this approach is. These are the opportunity that I need to explore. If I understand that, well, when I jumped up, start my email campaign at the beginning of the week, it's only on day 3 that there's a spike. Then I might start my campaign on Wednesday, the 3rd day of the week, because this is where I have the greatest interaction with my content. Make sense overall for everybody? Any questions in the chat?
I'm sorry, Rich. I missed where you got that from, the analytics.
The analytics? Okay, definitely. It's basically part of your marketing tools, analytics. Okay, and then you have the
Thanks.
gauge here to be able to decide. Again, it's an overall assessment of everything that you're doing. So it's rating all your strategy. Okay, so you can see here over 90 days, I get a little bit more information. So just at a glance, for example, go ahead. Go ahead, Tina.
Oh, and I know, and just maybe an ignorant question, but
No ignorant questions.
I know you always tell me that. That I don't know why I put that word in there. And so, to my knowledge, is if we put a video in there, would we know how much they watch that, or is this just strictly for the email part?
Well, that question, that first question is what we were attempting to get an idea by looking at the insights, right? If you're publishing it on Vimeo or YouTube, with enough knowledge, you can go and find the insight related to the audience time. Let me just see here, since we're talking about it. Well, okay, I'm going to prepare that for tomorrow. Since I am publishing these videos of ours on YouTube, I'll come back with that conversation about the data and how to see that. That's going to be a great exercise to add in for tomorrow.
Awesome.
So it's about, it rates your engagement or the engagement time on each one of your videos, which are marketing assets, which is great. For example, if you're trying to invest into boosting something, you want to see what is happening. Facebook does that. Usually most of the social media platform will offer some type of statistics. And I always recommend starting by understanding those because there's value for each one. They're specified for something that the platform does or offers. Go ahead, Arba.
Yeah, I just wanted to just state that many times, well, for me personally, there's a lot of ways to analyze and get reports of stuff. And many times you find that to be busy work. You know, you're looking at this, you're looking at that, where the income producing activities is the follow-up, is the calling. So, for instance, that like I know with Vimeo, and I put it in the chat, that you can see how many impressions a video got, how many views, and how many finishes, right? But it doesn't actually tell you who actually finished it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if any software does or whatever, but really you have to understand what analytics are you looking at. So what that would tell me, thanks for putting it up there, what that would tell me is what type of video tends to get the most engagement. That's really what you look at it for, not knowing who actually watched it, but it could say that, okay, people like videos that are more educational, or people like videos that are more entertaining, whatever. That's what that may tell you. But the point I'm just trying to make is pick up the phone, call people. Don't try to totally rely upon technology to do the job, because it's not. And the reason it's not is because people are people, and they are tired of all of the automation. They're tired of all of the emails, so use statistics wisely, and there's nothing like picking up that phone and calling somebody.
Exactly. Nicely put, because in the end, the greatest way we measure the conversion or the success of the action that we take is the engagement that we generate. And we don't just passively look at it, we have to follow up on it, right? So that's the greatest way of rating what you're doing. Okay. And again, keep the statistic conversation to when it's necessary. When you're looking at when you're starting at the beginning, it's not necessarily something that you want to dive in progressively. As you set things in motion, you yourself come back and ask yourself, well, I've been doing this for some time. What is happening with overall the result? And this is when the greater conversation around statistics will come in. Go ahead, Laurie, and then I'll have you, Robert. You'll come in.
I just wanted to point out for people that are using it for what I'm using it for, I have several different offerings, and I want to see, like you mentioned, where they stopped. Which product they stopped on, maybe where they hesitated, where they stopped and emailed me or called me, because I've already contacted them. This is my metric. So for people that have already talked to people, right? And you just want to see where your hole in the pipeline is, exactly.
Okay. So
or where they're interested to shop.
There's an opportunity here that I want to bring forward, because this is actually important. Just going over what you said, you have multiple call to action in the same video, and you want to know when they stopped, and you want to know how to solve this problem, right? Or
what they stopped because they're interested in that particular thing, because
so that's the problem.
Specifically different. They're completely different.
Let me, I was just wanting to make sure that I understood so that I can give you first the solution and the problem that you created for yourself and the problem that you created for the audience and the issue that you're now facing. I am sending you a video to sell one opportunity because that one is the most powerful for you. If I send you more than one opportunity, then I don't know which one you are interested in. Then I don't know when you stop. Then I have all this problem that I need to resolve. If we go back to basic, one video, one offer. If you watched it to the end, you clicked, I can gauge the result. So you made the process more complicated for yourself, and now you're trying to fix it. Go back to the basic, kiss it, keep it simple. I want to sell you, and this brings me back to the second question or the second problem in what you raised. I have spoken to them, but I still didn't ask the right question to know what they would be interested in, so that I now have to send them a whole bunch of questions or product offer. Where is the opportunity? Let's go back to when I spoke to them. The discovery process, there has to be a question there that I needed to ask that would have told me specifically which product they were interested in and which video on that product specifically or that call to action to put forward. This is a great point for me to rebound on, because all this has been coming across the conversation in one way or another. And this brings us back to what I wanted to talk about, the website structure, or how we approach the message across the board, right? Because all this now comes down to this. We were trying to track statistics to see if what we were doing was working. And just by understanding what we were doing, we now see that, well, we don't even need statistics. We just needed to understand, well, there is something that we're doing here that is not the right approach for us and for the client. Makes sense? So you see, you spend time diving into these snippet codes when you didn't necessarily need that. Okay, fundamentals are important when doing something. Okay, this is also why I usually hammer in the what, who, the how. Okay, here just to put it quickly, I'm just going to toss the ball into the field and then come back on that conversation, which is a little bit what I felt I did when I started the website structure. By the way, I'm doing the presentation. I dove into it, but if you have other questions related to any other aspect of the tool, please time in. I'm pretty sure it always relates one way or another to what we are about to talk. Okay, website architecture. Okay, this is very important, right? The idea that I want to get you to understand is that you always want to have a frame of work, whether it's for the conversation that you're having across an email or across a website, right? There's always this structure, right? In the case of what we were discussing, what we left on is that, well, the structure of our message was confusing. We had too many offers there, and that created too many choices, and we weren't sure where the customer was leading off or was leaving off. So how do we follow back, right? Here, I'm doing something very simple. By the way, this information, I haven't finished this demonstration. It's part of the third act in the how to build a tutorial, the case study. Okay, and doing this, actually, I felt I actually should have started this because you need to understand where you're going with your conversation, and that way it allows you to structure your website presentation in the core. And you also know where exactly are the priority, right? Which buttons, which call to action are important. I gave you 2 documents here. You can take a look at it. I'll try to make a more in-depth conversation, video presentation to roll out by the 15th of this month. For now, it's just going to be a crash overview there that I'm going to do so that you can come back and maybe when you're looking at that, have a little bit more perspective on what I'm trying to say there. And that you also can come back and again, look at your website structure. Okay, whether we're doing a landing page or a website, this applies, right? Because here, for example, at the top, if we look at the basic structure of a website, it follows our conversation patterns as well. The home is where we start presenting, building a rapport, right? The about, we're starting to introduce. Presentation, we're actually showcasing our product. Contact is where we're trying to close the deal. So even our website architecture will try to follow this conversation. And if we follow it right, we should know by the time we start offering products, which one of these products we're sending. And technically, just like the video asset, you want to make sure that the conversation in that asset is simple, right? This is a basic website map, right? So you would have the home, the about, the service, the contacts. There is a little bit of point form description that I included for what you're trying to anchor each one of these tabs as content, purpose, call to action, right? This is important to understand. And you can see that, again, what we are doing across the platform will follow the objective of our sales flow, right? I even color coded for myself to make sure that what I was doing felt natural, right? The first part of our home and about is where we're building rapport, presenting ourselves, right? Everything that has to do with service is where we're trying to close the sales, right? And the contact section is everything here around the connection and the follow, right? And what we're trying to do truly is happening here. Home, about, services, and contacts, right? So keep that in mind. Even when you're doing, for example, a landing page, right? In the end, you're looking at this same process: home, about us, service, contact us. Hello, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is what I'm offering. If you want to know more, this is where I started. This is my experience. This is my rate of success. Oh, this is what my service do. And this is how we started. And look, here's my card. Call me when you're ready. Or better yet, when you purchase, make sure to call me. I'll come and we'll start the next process together. Right? So this is what we're doing at all time, conversation flow. Okay, so keep in mind, to keep it simple, for example, here I did this simple math here. When we're creating a website or even a landing page, we have hidden page, inner page, or landing page from where we want the people to go, even if it's anchored, meaning that everything I'm doing above is basically anchoring them down to the contact us, to the form. We have done these type of landing page. Whatever button you click, it goes to the form. Same objective, right? And every page technically has an objective, a how, right? Everything that we're doing, again, is anchored in these basic principles, right? When you're describing your activity, much of your how has to do with the service and how the clients get the service, right? Who you are, who the customer is what you are merge into your about. Most of the about conversation, and this is very important. Remember, I'm trying to build a relationship with you. So if I'm talking to you about me, it's not so much that I'm talking about me. I'm talking about how we are similar. Right? It's that similarity that I want. And this is usually what you're trying to create in the about. Go ahead, Robert.
So I love all of this that you're showing us and the color
Mm-hmm.
coding and everything. What I want to do is kind of circle back around for Lori.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that nobody takes this the wrong way. I understand I'm speaking from my heart like I always do. The biggest thing that we as future leaders need to make sure we understand, the big skill set that we can have is number one, level one listening. So
Mm-hmm.
Lori was asking for something specific. That's what I was addressing. And we got all kinds of comments from the side gallery there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to just express that, yes, there is some tracking for YouTube, and yes, there is some tracking for Vimeo. But I want to speak to you at a higher level of marketing for just a moment, okay? And considering branding for just a moment. If you don't have that type of software that will track what Lori's looking for so she knows exactly how to fix that video, then you're dealing with another issue, which is off branding by having a video created that says YouTube on it or having a video on it that says the mail, which is not in direct correlation with your personal branding. Any professional company out there, if I go to their website and I see YouTube on it, automatically it's a huge turnoff to me. If I see Vimeo, it's a huge turnoff. Now, I'm not saying not to use it when you first start out. By all means, use what those tools are. But as you get to understand the game and the different levels that are there, you want to take the time to take a look at that video and see why it's not converting so that you can make the adjustments and then put it out there to test. You want that video to do 90% of the work. Sure, you're still going to pick up the phone. You're still going to have a conversation with them. But if you can have that video work in your favor, then why wouldn't you, right? Not to mention that that video, when they first see it, it's exactly what Virgil's talking about to build that credibility and also build that relationship. So I just want to mention that I'm just talking at a little bit higher of a marketing aspect here. I personally don't use YouTube for my branding, and I don't use Vimeo. It doesn't give me the proper tracking that I want to be able to look at that video and determine, okay, well, 30% they dropped off.
It definitely, it's, can I rebound on that? Okay, definitely. This is a very high tier conversation, and it's where we are called to make certain choices, depending of where we are taking our brand, as Robert said, right? So in a case, for example, where Robert is, he doesn't want to intertwine his brand with other existing brand, right? And this, what he said, stands in that regard. But on the other hand, for example, for some, and again, this is for somebody that is very elite, like Robert. For other people in this space, there's also certain things to consider. For example, YouTube itself has its own community, such as Vimeo. And that allows you also for that insertion in that market, right? Branding is particularly important, and also knowing how or when to leverage your brand, right? For example, in this space, the interaction, I love the interaction that we have here, Robert. Why? Because you are a seasoned marketer, but not only that, you have a special skill, which is sales psychology. So there's always a deeper reasoning to what you are saying, right? And in this space, for somebody, for me, that is a neophyte, right? My presence is leveraging also your knowledge in these, right? And this is important, right? So depending on what your goal is and depending on where you are, understand the market in which you're going, right? Because again, for example, me, I do understand that certain large business don't necessarily brand themselves with Vimeo, but on the other hand, I cannot go off the top of my head and find one major large business that doesn't have their own social media channel, including a YouTube channel.
Certainly. Yeah.
Right. So in that regards, if the biggest in the games are doing it, then there is a certain value there. Right. Again, for example, recently I started looking at in the idea of optimizing the website layout, right? The reason why is that I'm looking at Google Ads. Well, if I want to do Google Ads, I need to be in the Google space. The Google space gives me YouTube, Google page, and all that jazz. So that branding environment and the reach that allows me as a neophyte, a startup, is something that I cannot consider or overlook, right? So tiers of conversation. Again, to say we are in marketing, there is no bad or wrong answer. It's really about what works for you, right? And we all go through certain level. The idea here is that we're in a space where we want to convert as quickly as possible. If we can learn things as we progress, it's best for us, right? Meaning that just like what AI is doing currently, it's doing the work for us. And us understanding what work is doing allows us to better prepare and optimize. This is when we start looking at statistics. It's actually, again, sometimes I come in here not knowing what we're going to talk about, and then I'm very surprised because the whole conversation about analytics is where the next part of NAV, I assume, or I think will be going, since we're talking about scoring. Right? I think we all have that question. Scoring is based on all this conversation, the analytics. What are people naturally doing out there with their digital footprints that would say, well, if you're going to do this for that person, make sure to meet these metrics for engagement, right? And this is also what we are in essence covering with the website mapping that we're doing here. We need to have certain metrics in place when we're creating our marketing assets so that we know that this is what we're tracking for conversion, right? One of the questions, for example, I would have piggybacking on all this conversation and coming back to you, Lori, we discussed about the video. We discussed about the many products that were listed there. But what we didn't discuss is in the description of that video, because we definitely know that they won't be, unless you had QR codes appearing for each product conversation that they could pause and scan, which is not the case, most likely. Or, sorry, I assume I could be making a ash out of me. But if you don't have these QR codes, and that again makes it hard for the client. I have to pause and then screenshot this QR code because that's the product I want. The question that I was trying to build up to is in the description of your product, which is the most important, which link, conversion links did we did? Which was the first one? Which was the last one? Because then I would know if they keep clicking the first one, that one is a hitter. If they keep clicking the last one, that one is a hitter. How many links were there? Because you yourself, when you started putting these links, you would have started to realize, well, there's too many choices here for one client. What am I selling? One, A or B? If they're A, B, C, that's a little too much. A should be buy. B should be contact me so I can help you buy. These are the ABC choices when we're trying to send a selling conversation, right? And again, back to our call to action, these are the ABC choices that I'm doing on the how. How? Well, you can read more. That's going to lead you to an about where I'm going to try to get you to get started or get in touch. Buy or contact me so I can help buy. Same thing on the homepage. Here we are. We can read more, get together if you want more information before you buy. Otherwise, buy. If you're not sure, get in touch. And across these sections, everything I do when I lead somebody from one page to the other, I'm echoing these, right? If you're on the service page, of course, we're telling you to get started, or when in doubt, get in touch, right? So these type of thing allows you to map out your conversation, simplifying the process for the audience. So that way, again, coming back to where we started, where our Arba, the surest metrics to rate your success is the conversion that are happening, right? When you're engaging. If every time I share this website, I get a call, this website is good, right? That's what we hope for, right? Of course, let's be honest, in everything, there are statistics. I usually start with 3%, meaning that I don't know what I'm doing. By default, I should get at least 3 response out of every like, right? So I'm looking at my post this way. Out of every impression or view, how many clicks I get. If I get 0 every 100, then there's a problem. Because by default, somebody at least should be like, well, I'm not sure why I clicked on it. And that should happen at least 3 times. At least. That's an old metric that I took from my days working for my store. I opened the store and I'm like, well, okay, people are passing in front of my store, right? So every 100 customers, somebody should walk in, whether they know the store or not. If nobody's walking in, then I have a problem. Either my location is an issue or my presentation is an issue. I'm not getting a clear signal, right? Clear messaging, right? So keep that in mind. Review your assets. See whether it's a landing page or a website if you're adhering to a clear structure of conversation. Make sense for everybody? Go ahead, Patrice.
Hi, I just wondered is there a copy of this anywhere?
Yes, on the link how to newsletter, the one I posted, I'll repost the link. You will see that I have the first part, the first draft of the video, and also the 2 PDF documents that I created.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay, so you can review that. Then as soon as I'm done, I'll have the fully outlined courses, maybe elaborating on a few more values that we can appreciate. I'll show you what the other document is. And this is also something that you can use right away in a sense of reviewing what you have in place. 1 second here. Go back to that. Here, the second page here, if you can see it, this goes a little bit more in details or text of what we are doing, we've just saw. So you should look at these things to see, is my website structured this way, right? Especially for these things here. A lot of the meetings I had over the week had to do with marketing, and a lot of that the issues had to do with the clarity of the website or the messaging more than anything. Okay, so keep a look at that. And these are specific, right? For the home And from a home page or the home section, these are type of conversation that we would need, even if it's just one section on the landing page, and then we move to the next one. Right? So keep in mind these type of structures. Use it to review your current conversation flow. It doesn't need to have all the points covered, but generally you want to be in that direction of that conversation, and definitely the call to action. Right? And this is not something, I simplified it for the presentation, but you will see at the beginning of the presentation, I started by prompting my AI, and we should all have that reflex. Okay. And the question, which you will see, it's funny how we sometimes of these conversations are inspired by the moment, because the question that I asked was, how do I build a website that is optimized for conversion? The key word about our conversation today when diving into these analytics. Is my video converting? Is my website converting? Is my email converting? Right? So I started just like that. AI based on what you know about me, based on what I am doing, how should I build this? Right? And this is why I figured, okay, well, we're going to need a little bit of basics. We don't need to know everything, but we need to know at least what does it mean to have a website architecture, if I pronounce the word right, architecture, when starting. At least a visual idea, okay, this is what my house is going to look like, right? When you're buying a house, you go around that, okay, I want a 2-bedroom. I would want the kitchen to be here. Ideally, I'm not sure I'm going to get that, but this is what I'm gunning for. Same thing, when I'm creating a house website or marketing asset, I need to have the general architecture in mind. And I need to have a map, at least a frame in my mind, because that map is the one that I'm giving to the client in the end to follow. So if myself, I get confused reading my map, going back to you, Lori, then it's going to be complicated for the client. And ultimately, I won't achieve the conversion rate that I'm looking for. Okay? Very important. Think about that. Okay, go back to your marketing assets. Look at the architecture overall. Does it fill in all the blanks that it would need, so that if I'm not here, because remember, that is the whole point of these websites. If I'm not here, the client will follow every step of the way, like picking up breadcrumbs or candies and being led back to where I want. Right? That is basically what we're doing. So if my prospect journey around my what, my who, and my how will have me do these steps so that the client can be immersed gradually in it, then so be it. Okay? And remember, since we're talking steps, the less steps the client has to take to get to me, the better it is for him and for me. Right? So let's not take them on a long and roundabout journey. Right? This is about what we're talking. This is who I am, and who I am is reflected in who you are. Thus, the reason why we're talking, and this is how you get the service. Let's get started. Right? Our conversation, our path, our roadmap usually should start from that point to the last one. Right? Go ahead, Arba.
Yeah, I've there's a lot of different personality tests, and Nowsite even does the personality analysis and so forth. So in defense of what Lori is asking for, I had to rethink something. That you're saying, Virgil, a very streamlined, only give people one choice, or whatever. But there are certain personality types that do like multiple choices. They do like to feel like they're making a good decision. So they do like options, or whichever. So that's what's really most important, is you have to understand your audience, and you have to understand your product offering and your services. And I mean, I am a believer that a confused mind, doesn't make a decision. But on the other hand, if somebody who's a certain personality type may feel that you're just giving them only one option, they may not take it. And so it's just the matter of, like I put in the chat that, and again, Vimeo doesn't have an affiliate program. I'm not getting anything from them or whatever, but they do offer interactive videos where at any point, if you have products and a person can actually click a link. And if they want that product, they can click a link right during the video and get more information or purchase the product or whatever. That is not free. It is a cost. But I'm just saying that might be a good option if you're one that has products or services that there are multiple choices.
The links that appear on the Vimeo are pop-up links?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's called interactive video.
Yeah.
And you record the video and then you put those interactive moments in it.
No, definitely. These, okay. Again, as you said, it brings us to a higher tier of service and also a higher tier of use of knowledge. But again, I like how these exchange go because they tend to always confirm the same thing. Know what, who, and how, right? The one thing that you just said is, well, if my customer is part of that percentage that likes option, then I need to give them that option. It means that from the beginning, I knew my customer type, right? So I had already tailored that conversation approach for their how, right? So these are always everything that, and again, there are no right or wrong answers. There are no bad or good marketing. There is marketing that works for you at the time and place of the goal that you're pursuing. This is very important to set a foot. What we also want to do is remain efficient, right? Especially that time is money, right? So one of the things that's important is in our process, if we don't have to spend more money and don't spend a lot of time, then it's an optimized process. And when the time is required for deeper involvement because we have oiled up the machine and it's working on its own, then we go into these conversations. And this is just for now, because eventually the AI will start giving us a lot more across the platforms. Okay. So, yep, decide who you are talking to. Depending on who you're talking to, you want also to offer choice. But remember, Arba, I think at one point we also had a good discussion about what is choice and what is too many choices. Right? I think I remember one of us had put forward that one is not a choice, two is a choice, three is becoming a lot of choices.
Right, but
Right?
it still depends because when it comes to products, you can your video could just be talking about a skin cream, beauty. It could be talking about some kind of. Now, see, I'm a woman. You're a man. You're not. I meant to.
No,
I
that's very,
understand.
very prejudice and bias.
Very observant, aren't
I
I?
happen to like moisturize every day. No, I'm just joking. No, I don't
Right.
joke. I'm moisturizing every day, but go ahead. It
But
wasn't
here's what I
biased.
think is the difference is that if you're promoting beauty products, but you're specifically focusing on skincare, then I think it's okay to maybe talk about 4 of the top skincare. If you're just talking about skincare, but you don't want to do a beauty video and you're doing everything from skincare to makeup to moisturize. I don't know. You
Can
don't
I
want to
just
do too
can I
much.
just clarify one thing here?
Sure.
Because okay, you mentioned we're talking about skincare, and we're going to be talking about the 4 top products. Are we doing a product review, or is our goal here, our focus is selling on one of these skincare?
Well, that's the point that I'm making is that with women, with some buyer types, if
Mhm.
you only give one option, you may have lost that sale. Whereas if you give them maybe 3 or 4 options and they still end up picking the better priced product, that approach works better for some audiences.
Absolutely. Okay. You saw me smirking, not because I was mocking, but I was looking also at the reaction. Uh, this is definitely a point where we say, well, I would rather do this. I would rather do that. The client, well, we have some people that are say, well, more than two maybe is not what we should do. But I'm going to merge a little bit of these answers, and I'm going to come back to what you're doing. Okay. So I'm selling this cream, right? My focus here is to sell this cream, right? Now, to make sure that I'm appealing to the client, the man, yours, and any other, when I show up, I'm going to show up with the cream, the vanilla flavor, the coconut flavor, the shea flavor, the lavender flavor, right? So now I have four products, but only one goal, selling my cream. I give the option to the client, right? You can select any type of these flavors, but you're still buying one cream. That's my goal, right? So that is where we come in with this illusion of choice, right? Even when we give choice, and I'm going to come back to that, even when we give choice, I'm going to come to the conversation and I have these four creams that I'm bringing. But I know that out of these four creams, the coconut one is a top seller. So I know that my focus out of these four is selling the coconut one. So I'm probably going to, in the conversation, say, well, what do you like? If you say coconut, there you go. If you don't say coconut, I'll say, okay, which one is it? The lavender one? Okay, we do have a lavender one, but why don't you check this coconut one? This is actually our best seller. Okay, let's see, right? The best seller could be because this one actually comes in with a bundle. That's the focus, trying to sell more than one. This happens to come with a bundle, right? So the illusion of choice is offered, and definitely a good salesman will always offer choice. We just have to understand. For example, the conversation that we're having here, just to put things in perspective, and I don't know if it's the same thing with Lori, if it's in the case for Lori, is that, for example, in the same video, I'm talking about skincare, then I'm talking about crypto, then I'm talking about real estate, then I'm talking about something else. These products are not related, right? But if I'm saying, okay, well, we offer this whole lineup of beauty care, which starts with the skin care, the facial care, the shampoo, the aftershave, and this is for men, of course, because we do all that as well. But no, for everybody, really, right? We offer a line of product, but even there in the focus, I know that, well, you know what? If I'm talking to women, they really like that skincare. If I'm talking to men, they really like that facial care-ish thing because the aftershave. So depending on what I'm coming with the illusion of choice, I know where my focus is. Right? We're gonna end soon. We have 2 minutes signing off. Go ahead, Lori.
I'm just gonna say, for the sake of the conversation, is that it's all travel. All of it's travel. Is just there's four different
Destination.
no, there's four different choices and options, as she was saying, in that niche. Did you want to do this? Did you want to, does this suit you? Does this suit you? Does this suit you? There's very, very specific. So
Mhm.
it was a matter of, do I want to show all in one video, or do I want to clip the videos? Because they're all internally made. I can't remake them or put them on Vimeo or anything like that, but I can definitely cut them and just send segments out after I do discovery for each. Exactly, Robert. Exactly.
So the discovery first would be the call to
This,
action on that video.
they want to be
It,
a home-based travel agent. Are they already a travel agent, or they have no desire to be a travel agent, but they want to travel? Real specific.
okay, it's like a survey type.
This is what we got. Which one do you like? Which one appeals to you?
Okay.
But I do the discovery ahead of time, but a lot of times people don't realize that, hey, I really didn't realize, and off the top of my head, yeah, I don't want to be a travel agent. Hey, maybe I really do. So that's why I wanted to put all four, because that's how the company has it, to be
Okay.
able to offer all four. But once I have talked to these people and narrow it down, I'll clip and send the travel agent. People who are already travel agent, I'll just send them a travel agent video.
That's an
So
option. One thing that I would ask, if the travel agent, if the opportunity that you work for has given you these assets because they work, then there's also a follow-up process that they have put in place. Let's take a look at what they do. This is also one thing that we have to stop doing, because if we're looking at a whole process and we want to use the whole process, we're going to use the whole process. We're not going to take bits and pieces of the process and try to incorporate in our strategy that doesn't follow up to what is happening next. Right. So if you're taking assets, if your company, and this is standard, if your company is offering you assets that you want to use, it means we're using the asset and the strategy that comes with it. Because we need to at least master the mold before we start building outside the mold. Makes sense? So I'm now curious. Please book a meeting. I want to see the asset. I want to see how the company is doing. I want to see what is the strategy behind that, because this is not bad. It's actually great for a funnel approach, right? They're doing this in the video. If this video was on top of a funnel and the funnel had a form and the form in the end was a meeting, then right there, what am I doing? Watching the video, filling out the form, making the decision, and sending you that information. And what are you doing? Looking at the result and following up with the exact email campaign that follows the intention. How is the conversation laid out across that asset? How is the asset echoing in the conversation that was laid out before? This is now the exercise that we're having to face. Okay, so I'll look at the statistics that YouTube does. Well, I think we covered the conversation about statistic. We're not going to go over that. Prepare your question for deeper or for the next sessions in terms of, okay, conversion, because now we're talking about conversion, and I think that is mainly what we want to start looking at, especially with the nav. Covering all these conversation about personality types are important because it allows us to create standard message for these type of audience. If you like choices, I'll make sure to send you something with choices. And this also will come through the personality report that we're getting. So when we're setting criteria in place to go over everything that we've done to guide us through the choice, let's look at the personality. How does this person, general archetype, likes to receive their information? Multiple choices or direct offer? If we're looking at directors managing a personality, no time to waste. You have something to tell me, show me. It's a yes or no if I like. Right? If it's a consumer, then yeah, well, I don't want to be forced to accept one. What about the rest? Okay. So with that said, we'll see each other tomorrow. It was a great exchange. I hope for everybody, a lot of lesson learned, I hope. And definitely fundamentals are now foundation for what we are doing. So now that the tool is being optimized and going to the sky on itself, let's make sure that we are standing on solid foundation. We understand what we're offering, who each time we're talking, and how the process is being rolled out, because all that falls within the scope of that conversation each time. Good for everybody? So I'll see you tomorrow. Take a look at the documents. If you have questions there, it will make for even better exchange around that. And we'll try to do a visual this time, looking at what all that means on the website interface. Good? Perfect. Okay. Love the Plastic exchange today. It was so much. I'll see you tomorrow.